So I'm asking Supervisor Rodman to lead us.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Thank you. As we move forward, we go into a moment of silence. I ask that we enter this moment of silence and let us hold in our hearts and neighbors that we serve, families, who make up the fabric of this county, that we may pray for the wisdom to lead with integrity, the strength to meet the challenges in the community, and to share the spirit of kindness that extends to every corner of our home. Also for those troops that are overseas, that they get back safe. We can have a moment of silence. Thank you. So as we move into the citizen comment period, I want to make a couple things clear that we are putting our name on there and making sure the district that we're from, we announce that you announce your name first and also mention where the district you're from. The other thing, it's going to be 3 minutes, and we ask to maintain that at 3 minutes. But before we begin our formal proceedings and open the floor for the public comments, I'd like to share just a brief word on behalf of all the board. In our recent discussions, my fellow board members and I have reaffirmed a core principle of our service, the importance of listening. We recognize the residents and the stakeholders of this county are our most vital partners in governance. Our priority this evening and always is to ensure that those who have a share in the future of Botetourt County are heard first and foremost. We value your insights, your concerns, and your vision for our community. We're here to listen and learn and work together for the benefit of our citizens. With that, we'll look forward to hearing your comments. And do we have any comments? Okay. So we move to our consent agenda. And everybody's had an opportunity to take a look at the meeting minutes and the financial transaction report. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
I do
Aye.
have some questions about the accounts payable transaction report.
Okay.
So,
Should we get Katie?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Ms. Davis, if you could.
Hi, Katie.
No.
I hope I'm not getting too much down in the weeds that you won't have the answers to these, but perhaps you will. So my first question, I'm looking at page 73 of the agenda, which I think is page 1 of the account payable transaction report.
Is this, are you referring to the item in the consent agenda or the accounts payable?
Accounts
transaction?
payable.
Okay, the approval exceeding 250,000? Or the transactions report from February?
Transactions from the.
Sure, okay. Think, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so on page 73 of the agenda, which I think is page 1 of the accounts payable transaction report, there is a $387 payment for human resources for Express Family Care.
Mhm.
I'm just curious what category that falls into or what kind of expense that is.
I would have to double check, but I believe that was for drug testing, or something similar, a job required medical treatment per se, but I can certainly double check with that and get back with you.
Okay, that's,
I wouldn't normally know, but I actually do recall seeing that one, so I'm pretty sure that's what that one was for.
I accept your representation.
But I will confirm and get back with you.
Okay, and then on page 74, I'm looking at the Technology Services Maintenance Service Contract for Carasoft Technology Corporation for $85,294. I am curious if that is a one-time fee or if that is a recurring payment that is going to come up again in the budget every year. What are your thoughts?
I would think it's most likely an annual payment, but again, I can confirm that and get back with you to see if that's a startup. Carasoft, which I believe, I don't know if Mahesh is in the audience, but I believe we have multiple products through that single vendor. So I don't want to misstate, but more than likely it's an annual payment. But again, I will confirm and certainly share that with all of you.
Okay, thank you. And then on page 75, the Communications Department has a $3,999 payment owed to Bridge Tower Media.
Mhm.
Do you know what that is for?
I don't, but I know who might.
I think that is gonna be.
Oh.
That will be for. I can
And-
double check, because I do not have anything that was sent out from my department.
And I'm happy to pull these invoices and I can share them even during this meeting if that
That'd be
works.
great.
So,
Okay, and then on page 77 of the agenda, this is in the Sheriff's Department. So there's a $2,051.10 expense for crime prevention. I'm just curious why the Sheriff's Department has a separate item for crime prevention.
that's just the title of the expense category within their budget. I don't know the history of it, but obviously the idea being expenses are put somewhere to help identify the overall categorical nature of what they are. So that's all it is. It's an object code name, if that helps. Would you like me to get some more information on what
Yeah,
type of
that'd be great.
expenses? Sure.
And then on page 79 of the agenda, this is also in the Sheriff's Department. There are a couple of 4 on that page. Payments to Shee Auto Stores of $45,322.
Mhm.
Were these for vehicles that were budgeted in the previous year's budget, or what are those? for?
They do have an annual amount budgeted each year for their replacement, and this would have been included as part of the current year's budget.
Do you know how many vehicles are replaced every year?
I want to say it is at 12 now. Yeah.
Well. Okay. You may not know this one either. I know I'm really down in the weeds here, but on page 80 in the dispatch accounts payable, there is a payment for $7,100 to APCO International. I looked up what APCO did. Now I've forgotten, but do you know what that one is?
I don't, but again, I'm happy to pull the invoice and share that, see what that specifically is for.
Okay. And then on page 82 for animal control, it looks like we are paying $37,064.58 to the county of Roanoke.
Yes, so that is part of our agreement with the RCACP, the Regional Care for Animal Care and Protection, Regional Center for Animal Care and Protection. So we actually have an agreement with them and we pay it out on a monthly basis. So that's what that is. That is for the agreed upon contract amount. We are a part of that agency along with Roanoke County and City of Roanoke and Benton as well.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Mhm.
And that's the animal shelter, yeah. And then in healthcare services, there's payments to Carillion for $3,153 and $19,735. Do we pay Carillion then for the ability to bring emergency? patients to
Again,
their doors?
I would definitely need to check and see what that is. Again, we do have expenses related to drug testing and whatnot, other workers' comp things. I don't know if that's what that is. So certainly I'm happy to
Yeah.
check. I don't want to misstate something on that.
Okay. And then on page 85,
You could probably ask Chief to say something about that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to skip that one. So there is on page 86, a capital outlay for $54,855 for a motor vehicle for fire and EMS. Do we have an agreement with them for a certain number of vehicles every year?
This would have been a part of the approved budget. They don't have quite the same annual replacement cycle that the sheriff's office has, so it would have been more of a one-off. Not a set amount each year, which I can look into to see what the total number was for that was approved in the budget.
It was approved budget. Okay, thank you. And then on page 97, this is Parks and Rec. There is a $14,325.95 account payable to Riddle All-American Sports Corporation. So that looks to be like a helmet company. I'm wondering if we are buying helmets and supplying them to somebody.
That one, I'm not at all sure what that is.
Okay,
But again,
check
happy
that
to
one.
pull the invoice. Mhm. I might need to get back with you. I thought I was going to remember all of these, but it's a few more than I thought. So I may need to double check to make sure that we
Okay,
get
I
them all.
think she has these highlighted, so it'll be easy.
Okay.
Go, just hand that to her and
Yeah.
go over that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you want to, just hand that whole thing and then we'll get back to her in the budget, FY 2027 budget, and we'll come back to this.
Okay,
I may not be able to get them all pulled by then, but I'll do my best.
Well, whatever you need to do to be better.
well, some of these you knew already, so thank you.
So if we move forward, we'll come back to the consent agenda. Later on, number 3, VDOT monthly update. Thank you, Supervisor Robin.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me again this month. I'll be doing the agenda update, and Andrew here will be doing the secondary 6-year plan work session with you. Ashley's out, and Andrew's covering for this month. So as far as our normal updates, the 2026 paving schedules have been advertised. We've had our pre-construction meetings. They'll be moving forward. I don't have a good schedule now when paving will occur in Botetourt. They usually wait till sometime later in the summer to do our area. As far as traffic engineering work orders, we did not have any for this month. But I will have an answer. Mr. LaRue had some questions about 220 and Valley Road and some crashes there. We've got some options. I'll be sending those to you, if not later today, maybe tomorrow. I got the final option this morning. We had several site plan reviews that are under review for VDOT. We have 7 permits that have been approved over the last month. 3 projects that are underway, the extension of the acceleration lane for exit 162. They've been working on some culverts under Route 11s. You may have seen some temporary traffic control set up there and some temporary patching. The project from on 81 from exit 143 to 150 has been underway for quite a while. They're still doing the same amount of work, but you'll see more work pick up as the summer moves along. And then the 460, the Laymantown Road right turn lane is underway. That project, that contractor's already moved in and set up some traffic control. There, just as a note there, and we'll leave this on the agenda, there will be a closure of Laymantown Road on that section over the summer after school lets out. And they have in the contract, they need to be back open before school comes back in. As far as planned routine maintenance work, it's around the area. It's just preparing, resurfacing schedules, So we're patching before those contractors get in there. We're doing grading gravel roads, we've already got some requests for, some dust treatment and things like that. And we'll be doing any cutting we need for site distance as things start to grow up. But other than that, we've got some drainage projects underway, a couple of pipe replacements, but we're kind of moving in the summer and getting ready for some more like in-house type work. Does anybody have anything for me this month?
Buchanan area?
No, thank you.
I think we're good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I follow up? There are a couple pieces here in Amsterdam, Stevens Road, Haymaker Town. I think there might be some plans for some paving there. Can you elaborate on that for me, please?
I think that'll be a part of his presentation that comes up next if those are on the secondary 6-year plan. Yeah, so he can go into those a little more detail and it'll be a part of the presentation that he has up there.
Perfect. Thank
Good.
you.
You're welcome.
Blue Ridge.
I want to thank you for your work there on Archway. I think it looks very nice. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
So Brian, I have one area in Route 11. It's 1649 Lee Highway. In that house, what has happened is during some of that work, there's a pipe coming down leading into like Route 11, kind of going on the side of Route 11.
Mhm.
It's kind of cut out that area of Route 11, and now it's going into the garage of that house. So all that water is kind of going right into there, feeding from above. I think it's Grubs.
Just downstream from the
Yeah.
drop. I've been texting with the individual that owns the property. I don't recall the name, but I've been texting back and forth with him. He sent me pictures. I've sent him some pictures back of around 2009-ish, whenever the water was going that way already. I've got the area headquarters looking into some things we might be able to work. I don't think I'm going to be able to send the water the other direction, but we can at least try to make it to where it flows more efficiently.
There's a storm drain just a little bit further down from him, I think. And if we
Okay.
could lead into that, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, sure.
We'll look at that and see.
Will do.
I think that, oh, and then Steeplechase. When is the resurfacing of Steeplechase area?
Chase that, the apple tree neighborhood there.
That is.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Is it 26 or 27? I don't remember. I don't think it's this year. I think it was on next year's schedule.
If you can just
I can-
drive through that
I can
area and just
find
take a
out.
look at that Steeplechase area too.
I believe it's on the 27 schedules. I actually have a map. It'd take me too long to look at it on my phone right now, but I can let you know and send you something back.
Okay.
So, all right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right, as we move forward into the VDOT work session, Andrew.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me today. So something a little different this month. We are in that time of year where we're starting to look at the secondary 6-year plan. So this is an annual process we go through with all of our counties. And what this secondary 6-year plan is, it is state funds that are allocated to each of the counties throughout Virginia. These funds can be used for roadway improvements on secondary roads with a few restrictions that we'll get into. This is a board-driven process, so it is a partnership between both VDOT and Botetourt County as far as identifying these projects and establishing the priorities. So as I mentioned, there's two types of fundings that are involved in the secondary 6-year plan. The first is what we call telefees. So these are funds that are paid by telecommunications companies for having their assets within the VDOT maintained right-of-way. The allocation is a formula that's basically the funds are collected from those companies statewide, and then the funds are distributed out to all the counties in Virginia based on a formula. Those telefees are the more flexible of the two types. They can be used on various types of projects. They can also fund some countywide services funds. The biggest restriction on the telefees is that any improvements using those funds have to be on secondary roadways. So they cannot be used on projects on primaries such as Route 11, 220, 460, et cetera. The second type of funds in the secondary 6-year plan is the district grant unpaved road funds. So these are funds that are allocated throughout the state based on a formula that looks at what percentage of roadways in any given county are unpaved gravel roads. So Botetourt obviously has quite a few gravel roads, state maintained gravel roads. So it does receive a pretty substantial portion of the unpaved road funds compared to most localities. Those funds can be used for hard surfacing, improving drainage on those unpaved roads that are state maintained. The biggest restriction is those roads have to have it see at least 50 vehicles per day in order to be eligible for those funds. Typically, we refer to those projects as rural rustic projects, which you'll hear from now and then. Trying to advance the slide here. There we go. So what we'll go through today is really just an information session. We're not really looking for any action from the board today. Our process involves us coming here, providing this information, and then the code does require a joint public hearing between VDOT and Botetourt County. We would look to have that public hearing at the meeting in April. At that point, we would look for some action from the board to move forward with the plan. So what I have shown here is the current priority list based on what was approved by the board last year. So we'll walk through these projects pretty quickly, and then we will show what we have proposed coming up. So the first project on the list is Stevens Road, which I know Mr. Snyder mentioned just a bit ago. So this would be hard surfacing Stevens Road between Blacksburg and Country Club Road. The second item on here is actually a project that was completed last summer. So this was the Hunter Green subdivision full depth pavement restoration. This project did use the majority of available TeleFee funds in order to correct some pretty significant pavement issues in that neighborhood. Moving on, Ballpark Road in the Eagle Rock area is the next rural rustic that is coming up. That is one that we've actually started working on some of the environmental review, and we are hoping to start construction on that this summer. Jumping back to Stevens Road, that is one we're looking to complete this summer, so hopefully in the next few months. Mountain Valley Road is the fourth one on the list. That is off Lithia Road, and that would carry an extension of our prior rural rustic project to extend the hard surface another 0.4 of a mile. Laymantown Road, this is actually a very short section of Laymantown Road between Mountain Pass and the end of state maintenance. That one is currently funded. We will start that next summer. Roy Road is another section. 2028 is our current schedule. Same with Old Hollow Road in 2029. Redbud Lane in 2030. Haymaker Town Road, which I know is another one Mr. Snyder had brought up. That one is currently scheduled to start in the summer of 2031. Fringer Trail, another extension of a previous project, followed by Flowing Springs Road in the Springwood area, and then Zion Hill Road between Fincastle and Eagle Rock. So as I mentioned, those are the current projects. This is a 6-year plan, so you'll notice that some of these projects are scheduled out in future years. That allows us to start planning on some of those projects as the funds become available, and then work our way through planning the project, designing it, seeking environmental clearances, and then scheduling with our contractor to actually perform the work. A couple of projects that we know have been brought up here recently. One is Short Road in the Blue Ridge area. This is a relatively short road that runs between US 460 and Colonial Road. Our current estimate on that is about $350,000 to do the drainage improvements, make sure the road is ready to receive a hard surface, and then actually doing that hard surface work. The next one that's been mentioned is Trevi Road. So this is one that runs between Old Hollow and Wheatland Roads. It would complement project number 7 on Old Hollow, which I mentioned previously. It's already on the plan. And then the last one that has been brought up in the past is Sugar Tree Hollow Road in the Eagle Rock area. This is one that, as I understand, has been brought up in the past, but has never really been identified what specific section was interested in being performed. So obviously at a full 4.5 miles, it would be a pretty expensive project. If there was any desire to move forward with it, we'd probably recommend breaking that into pieces in order to accomplish it. Our proposed priority list. So one of the major things that we're currently seeing right now is based on the current list of projects that have previously been approved by the board and have moved forward. In FY32, which is the last year of the current cycle, there's only about $172,000 that's left unallocated, which I think is in some ways a good thing because it means we have good projects for moving things forward. But because of that, we don't really have enough funding available at this moment to add a new project onto the list. So at this time, our proposal would be to keep the list as it is, in the same order that has been previously approved by the board. And we would continue moving forward these projects and working through completing them as the funds become available. Certainly in the future, next year as more funds become available, or if anything changes between now and then, we can certainly make updates to the plan and potentially add some projects. So as I mentioned, no real action needed today. This is really just information for the board. And next month, we will be back for the public hearing and the board action on the secondary 6-year plan. So with that, I will take any questions if you have them.
Andrew, I do have a question if possible. Is there a chance that I could add one or have you guys take a look at one, Chasewood Lane? I've got a letter here that you can go by.
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly
And just
take a
see if
look at it.
that could be put in the proposed, yes, please.
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at that and certainly follow up with county staff to see if it meets whatever the criteria are for being included. And then certainly have some discussions with the board of
Okay,
where it would stand priority wise.
thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, looks like you're planning to do Stevens and Ballpark this year,
Correct.
which is awesome. Mountain Valley and Laymantown in 27. Roy Road in 28. That's a pretty good size project, so I know you can't really team up with that, but I was curious if you could team up Old Hollow and Redbud in 29. I think the dollars are there, and
Okay.
neither one of them are, I don't think, over 300 or close, just over 300. But that would kind of bump, that's going to bump some of these up anyway by doing 2 a year. So
We can certainly look at that. Certainly no two projects are the same. And it's really kind of trying to marry up both the funding availability in certain years and then also our contract capacity. We have one contractor doing these projects and doing them for Roanoke, Craig, and Botetourt counties. So we can certainly take a look at it, and depending on the complexity of the project, that might be something we could try to move forward with.
thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Thorpe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And this puts us into the public hearing. See. At 2:30, but you can take your time getting down here. We do have some seats up front if anybody would like to come down here. Apparently not.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Mr. Chair, if you would prefer, I could go over a couple of these invoices to get us to the 2:30 time slot.
That'd be fantastic.
Thankfully, I have some of my team up there that were furiously helping me look these up. So I will say for the human resources, Express Family Care, and also the Carillion items for fire, those were both related to physicals for employment. The one for HR was for 3 individuals. Jason, our fire chief, did indicate to me that they do annual physicals as part of their employment, their fitness for duty.
Thank you.
The item for technology services, the Carasoft, that is an annual amount. That is for, it's related to cybersecurity. It's for endpoint management software, which is essentially, these devices for the end users. It's about as technical as I can get with that. And Brent is looking up the Bridge Tower Media. Okay.
I'm working on a budget that was, I think, on board at the end of the middle part of last year. So some of the things were predetermined that were already had to be made. So that is one of those publication was sent out for that.
Okay, is that an expense that you anticipate being able to eliminate this year? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Okay, there's a few items that are P cards that I'll need to just a little bit more time to get. Let's see, you had asked about APCO International for dispatch. That is for an active shooter class that was held virtually. I think we covered that, the fire EMS for Carillion. And I did confirm that we did have the fire EMS vehicle that was in budget for FY '26.
Thank you.
The item for Parks and Recreation, the Rydell, it looks like that was for youth helmets and shoulder pads. I'm assuming that is for some youth recreation sports, which I know we do receive some reimbursement back, as far as fees for whatever sport is being held. I don't have any more information on that. If you need it, I'll be happy to get with the Parks and Rec director, but it was for, I think, approximately 10 each of the youth helmets and shoulder pads. That it might have been more, but it was for helmets and shoulder pads. So I'm assuming football. All right. And I think, let's see. You had highlighted, you didn't mention the VA 250 committee.
Yes.
So that was an action by the board to allocate $7,000 for that. There is some grant money that's being reimbursed to them, but this was essentially to help front load some of those funds so they could move forward with the Virginia 250 celebration that's being held.
My recollection might be faulty on that, but I thought the board authorized a lower amount, and then if they needed it, they could establish a need for it. There was a greater amount. I thought it was less than 7,000. Am I wrong about? I could be
It
wrong.
was actually higher. I believe it was 10,000, but they did not need it and they were able to get the grant sooner. So I think in total, the idea was that the county would fund up to 6,000 net once we were reimbursed by any grant funds received. I'm pretty sure it was the county contribution of 6,000. So yeah, so we will likely, and I can confirm this, get now that they have grant funds, get reimbursed for that. So that appropriation won't be needed.
Okay, thank you.
You had noted on here, visit Virginia's Blue Ridge. That is also part of our agreement with them, and we do send, I believe it's quarterly payments to them, and they do check now each month to get updates on our hotel occupancy tax, how much we've collected. So that amount is based off as a percentage based off of what we collect for that.
So is this part of, so this is a quarterly payment for the Blue Ridge contract that was part of the last budget? Does that?
Yes, it is in line with the budget. Now, there is some variation since it is billed based off of how much we actually collect. So it might not exactly match the budget for that reason. But essentially, if we get more in the occupancy tax, we would pay them more. If we get less, we pay them less. So it moves in conjunction with revenues that we're actually collecting.
Okay, that part I understand. So what I'm curious about is if this payment, so we are in the third quarter or fourth quarter of our 2025,
We're in the third quarter.
third
Mhm.
quarter. Is this it? So does that agreement with the Blue Ridge group, does that terminate at the end of the 25-26 budget cycle?
I don't believe so. So that's one in which we are allowed to collect an extra 2% that we then remit to them. If we were to terminate the agreement, from what I understand, we also could not collect that 2%. So it's essentially a pass through. I don't know if you want to chime in, Mike.
Oh, so we have an extra tax to pay that?
Yeah, but we have, I believe, a 7% transient occupancy tax rate, and of that 2% are required by state law to go to Virginia's Blue Ridge, and that's why it varies year to year. It's because those 2 percentage points are required to go there.
Okay, by state law, we don't have the ability to opt out of that?
You would have to have state law change.
Yes.
To actually opt out.
Okay, that was my biggest objection. Apparently, we're stuck under state law, so.
So does that clarify all the points that you wanted for that?
Yes,
So we had a motion and a second. And this was based upon the minutes as well as the financial transaction report. And I'm going to go all in favor,
Aye.
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 all opposed, abstained. There we have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Of course, absolutely.
I know, that's what people have been talking
Mr. Chair, would you like me to move forward with the public hearing?
Yes, please.
So what we have here is a total amendments that do exceed 1% of our adopted budget, which does require a public hearing before those amendments can be acted on. There are several different items, so I'll go over each of them. The total impact of all amendments being requested is $22,454,922. The first item you'll see there is for approximately 4.8 million. That is our third quarter appropriation to the schools. This is 15% of the amount that was adopted in their budget. As you may recall, for this fiscal year, the full amount was adopted, but the appropriations have been done quarterly in a 40, 30, 15, 15 basis for each quarter. So after this, there would be one more appropriation of 15% potentially to complete that. The second item is for EDA grants that total approximately 2.4 million.
Davis.
Yes,
Hold on
I'm
just a
sorry.
second.
This is just the agenda item. If you want to pull that up, it's what's in attached. Yeah. That would actually be great for me too. Correct. Yes, this is the public hearing.
I think it's page 118 of the agenda.
Yes, correct. Okay. So again, item B is for EDA grants to go to various departments. That includes community development, several parks and recreation capital projects, the Reed Mountain Fire Dispatch Center project, as well for 3 fire trucks for fire EMS. That is a portion of the funding for that. The third item is to appropriate $199,880 for a Virginia Department of Energy grant that was received. The next item, item D, is $60,000 for a Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation grant. Item E is to appropriate $24,026, and this is a grant from the Library of Virginia to the Digital Imaging Clerk Records Project. Item F is to appropriate $2,035. This is reimbursement funds that were received for fire EMS related to precepting work that was done, and also a reimbursement for damage that was done to one of the vehicles. Item G is to appropriate $8,338,513 from unassigned fund balance to the Reed Mountain Fire and Dispatch Center project. This is funding which will be partially or fully reimbursed with the bond issuance later on. So this is essentially just to cover those appropriations and needs until that time when we can do that based on, everything that's decided with that. The same for the next item, an appropriation of $6,500,454 for the public safety radio project. Again, with the financing forthcoming, some portion of this will be reimbursed. Obviously, not all of it, as we've talked about, because some of it is being covered by fund balance. Okay, and the last item is an appropriation from fund balance of $85,000 to cover some third-party software charges that were not anticipated at the time of the budget. So it is requested that the total appropriation amount of $22,454,922 be approved. There is additionally an item for you to approve the attached grant agreements so that those agreements can be executed. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Any questions for Ms. Davis? So as we take a look at this, we're going to have a public hearing. So what I'd like to do is, there's no other questions for Ms. Davis, we'll move to a public hearing. Anybody here would like to speak about that? If not, I'll close the public hearing. And we have 2 things that we need to approve here. First is approve amendments to 2025, 2026 Botetourt County budget in the amount of $22,454,922. Do I have a motion for approval?
I would make an alternative motion. I would move to, at this time, not pass on item B and move that into the budget subcommittee process so that it can be evaluated there and looked at in terms of an overall budget.
Any discussion? What? So we've had a motion to approve all except for pulling out B for the subcommittee.
Yes.
Do I have a second? No second. So then we move towards another motion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
I'm opposed.
The ayes win. And the second part is to approve a grant agreements attached with the Virginia Department of Energy and Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, and authorize staff to execute necessary documents upon the review and approval of the county attorney. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstain. Okay. And now if we can go to the approval of accounts payable items.
Yes, so as per our accounts payable policy, any payments exceeding $250,000 must come to the board for approval before those payments can be made. Please keep in mind, this is separate from the act to appropriate that has already been done. This is just to actually release the fund for these invoices. So there are two that I have for you this month. The first is for MB contractors for an amount of $882,298.30. This is for application 6 for work completed in the month of February on the Reed Mountain Fire and Dispatch Center project, which I know you are all very familiar with at this point. And then the second is for $5,398,584.30 to Motorola. This is also part of the public safety radio project that I was speaking about previously. So this covers the balance of the subscriber contract price, which are the actual radios from what I understand, and a partial payment for change order number 4. So the total for both of these payments equates to $6,280,882.60. It is requested that these are approved by the board for processing.
Any questions from Ms. Davis? If no questions, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain. Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Okay. And if we can now move to the FY 2027 budget update.
Yes, thank you. So I have for you today the third monthly update to go over our budget progress thus far for the FY 27 budget development process. Of course, we've had 2 updates previously to represent different stages of where we've been in the budget process. What you'll see today is an overview of the county administrator's recommended budget. Of course, following this, we have the budget subcommittee meetings to follow, followed by the recommended budget to the full board, presentation to the public of the recommended budget, public review period, and then finally adoption of the budget and tax rates in May. Okay, so I have here the 3 stages of internal review, formal stages, I should say. We have concluded the first 2, which is the budget task force review, which is a group comprised of individuals from across functional departments and areas within the organization. The second review being conducted by the county administrator, which is what I have for you today. There's one final stage of formal review, and that is through the budget subcommittee, which of course is comprised of members of the board and is a public meeting, which will be the final formal stage of internal review before we compile the recommended budget. Okay. And just as a reminder, here are the guidelines that framed the FY27 budget development process. So this was shared with all departments to keep in mind when creating their budget requests. And it also serves as the basis for the stages of internal review. So this includes to eliminate or reduce non-essential expenditures, an emphasis on justification and cost basis for all these requests to ensure that they are based on actual needs. Limiting non-personnel operating increases to a maximum of 3%. So that's essentially the operating costs with the exception of personnel, limiting those increases to a max of 3%. Itemization of capital requests. We are now including operating requests or expenditures along with those capital projects this year for the first time to get a better understanding of the full cost impact when we move forward with the project. And finally, to align requests with demonstrated operational needs. Okay. So this chart shows the components of the recommended budget, the county administrator's recommended budget by category. You can see off to the right the progression. Our FY26 adopted budget that we began with was $98.8 million. The requested budget where we began for this budget year was $107.9 million. That is now down to $96.5 million per the county admin's recommended budget. So you can see, obviously, it's listed largest to smallest. Education is now the largest component, followed closely by public safety. Last month, those 2 were reversed, but not by much. So a big reason for that is personnel requests within public safety that accounted for a lot. And I do want to note that the education figure that's included in this presentation is simply a placeholder. It is the FY26 adopted figure and does not represent any requests from the school board or any action on the board. It is simply a placeholder at this point in time. The remaining categories you can see there comprise approximately 35% of the total budget. These have not really changed much throughout the process, again, because they are smaller. The one exception being that I want to draw your attention to is capital projects. So last month when I reported on this, it was a little over 5% that went to capital projects. As you can see now, it's at 1.1%. So it's second to last on there. And I'll get into a little bit more detail on that on the next slide. So you can see for our capital improvement plan or CIP, this began at $5.6 million as the requested amount for FY27. It has now been reduced to $1.1 million in the county administrator's recommended budget. So quite a big decrease. I do have there a chart just showing how that's allocated among the different categorical areas. The biggest chunk, of course, going to public safety, followed by public works and general government, and then some amounts for Parks and Rec and also community development. And the community development one is primarily the final year contribution to the YMCA that is, again, by agreement. Okay, so moving into the revenue side of things, those have been updated. The revenue now projections are now at approximately $95 million. You can see, and this has been the same throughout, local revenues make up the biggest percentage at 84.1%. So this amount is lower. It's 1.8 million lower or 1.9% lower than the FY26 adopted revenue budget. And I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide. I do want to note that These estimates are still not final. They are getting close, but there are still some outstanding things that we won't know, and unfortunately are driven by the state's budget cycle. So I would anticipate to see some additional changes, but probably not anything significant at this point. So getting into the breakdown of local revenues, which again is our biggest portion. As you can see, real property tax is making up by and large the greatest percentage at 48.2%, followed by personal property taxes at 15.5% and other local taxes at 15.2%. That one has come up a bit from the last revenue estimates that we had. Machinery and tools at 8%, followed by public service corporations at 5.3%. Obviously, there are some other ones, but they are pretty minor components of the overall local revenue projections. So again, they're not final, but we are getting close, with the state budget being the big item still pending, and we'll make a determination on a lot of those things. I did want to note the projections for local revenue, as I noted, does show an overall decrease. So we do have a projected decrease in property taxes. As you may recall, it was approved by the board to make some adjustments to the veteran and elderly tax credits. So that actually went into effect January 1st of this year. So we're really seeing the impact of those additional credits and tax relief show up for the 27 budget. Additionally, there was a decrease in earnings on investments. As you know, interest rates have been dropping. We are assuming that they are going to continue to drop further, as well as we have some big projects that are coming due. So that means less cash available to invest. Obviously, the discussion last time was to put approximately 10 million of fund balance towards some of those projects that we have outstanding. So just to give you some context of what is driving some of those decreases. On the flip side, we do have some increases showing for meals tax. It's performing very well. Sales tax is currently performing well. I do want to note that that is 2-month in arrears, so we won't be as notified to changes that may occur with that. And we also have some additional cell tower rental income that's driving some of those increases. We do have an increase currently for the state revenue projections, and this is primarily in regard to comprehensive services refunds. Of course, there is an expenditure offset for this because we are anticipating to get a portion of those back in reimbursements for that. Now, again, once the state budget is finalized, I anticipate we'll have some additional changes as far as board reimbursements that we can expect. Federal revenue figures does reflect a small increase, and this is primarily due to the public assistance, again, which is a reimbursable amount and is driven by expenditures as well. So on the presentation, you will note I've noted that we have that expenditures exceed revenue estimates by 1.2 million. I will say that there's been some changes since this, and it's actually much lower. Not that there can't still be additional changes, but as of today, it was about 30,000. So again, there have been some additional changes. This happens with budget, right? You make the presentation and things change because things are very fluid, but I thought that was important to note.
Can I just ask Katie?
Sure.
I want to make sure I got that. Are you saying it went from 1.2 million differential to 30,000?
Mhm.
Oh, well, that was good work.
There was again, some refinement to the revenue estimates, and also a big part of that as well is the board's decision to change how we approach the financing for the public safety radio and Reed Mountain fire project. So I was holding a full year's worth of debt service based on the full project costs. Obviously, we cut that by about 10 million. So that is, and of course, this could change because it is still projected what that debt service will be. It will ultimately be determined by what interest rate we are actually able to get, and we won't know that until it's complete. But that did make up a big portion of that as well.
Thank you.
Mhm. So again, obviously the work is not complete. Still changes could occur. We'll continue to work through making adjustments to expenditures as needed or to revenues and other sources, including use of fund balance to get to a balanced budget. And again, both components have to be reviewed concurrently to really achieve that end goal because they both will change at the same time. So here we have the chart, again, showing our budget progress. As I mentioned, it's the picture's a little bit better than that, but this is what it was at the time of completion for the presentation. So you can see, which again does historically happen. Expenditures were cut quite a bit for the current stage of review, and thankfully we did have some improvements to revenue estimates. And again, just to point out, at this time for contribution to schools, it is simply a placeholder. It is not reflective of any decisions that have been made. Okay, and this chart, you may remember from last month, just shows the movement that we've seen in past years of how things change through each stage of the review. And again, historically, the reason we see an increase in budget subcommittee has to do with the fact that that is when decisions about contributions to the schools are made. So that is generally what drives that increase that you see there.
Do you know, Katie, what the amount is for the school budget placeholder?
It's 32 point something million.
32?
I want to say it's 32.3, but give me 1 second. I can
Thank you.
pull that up. $32,367,986. So again, that is the FY26 adopted figure that we're using for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so next steps, as you can see, we've completed the first 3 reviews. So next up will be the budget subcommittee meetings, which will occur March 30th through April 10th. And again, we'll be reviewing each department for that. That information will be shared with the full board on April 20th. And then we will advertise and present that recommended budget to the board and the public on the April 28th board meeting. That will be followed by a period of public review with the budget and tax rate adoption planned for the May board meeting on May 26th. Okay. Any questions that I can answer at this time?
Other questions from board members? If not, thank you very much.
Thank
For your
you.
hard work.
Yep.
Thanks very much.
Go to number 8 and the Roanoke Regional Partnership Annual Presentation, Mr. Hall.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Scott Horn and members of the Board of Supervisors. It's really happy to be here this afternoon to present to you our 2025 annual report on our services to Botetourt County and the results of our work. I'm joined this afternoon by Pete Eshelman, Senior Director of Creative Strategies with the partnership, and also Julia Boas, our Director of Business Investment. So she oversees our business recruitment activities and also our talent strategies as well. And again, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to provide the annual report. We, of course, are grateful for our partnership with you. The partnership, as many of you will remember, is a public-private partnership. Half the funding that funds our organization is from our 8 public sector partners in combination regionally, 8 local governments, and the other half of our funding is from our private sector investors who contribute to the work of the partnership to achieve the mission of being the attraction of jobs and the attraction of new capital investment as well as new residents to the region. And as part of that work, we set targets for investment and job creation on a 5-year basis, which is what you see on the screen. Our Thrive 2027 campaign set forth the goal of $350 million of new capital investment and 3,000 jobs. As of the end of last calendar year, we can report that the work of the partnership together with its local partners, because again, we can't do the work without local government partners and our investors, has resulted in $565 million of new capital investment attracted, as well as 3,165 jobs. So at this point, the region is sitting well above the capital investment goal and above the job goal, and that's a year early, so to speak. Also, 4 years out of 5 years under Thrive, more than $1 billion of new economic activity have been added to the regional economy by virtue of the projects. Last year, the regional partnership and its local partners achieved a record impact of $397 million of new economic activity, and achieved 555 business inquiries, which are the front end of our opportunity funnel. And of course, by the end of the calendar year 2025, the region had achieved attraction of $176 million of new capital investment and 715 new jobs. You'll note you just saw two wildly different figures. $397 million that represents economic activity. The $176 million represents capital investment specifically. Okay, Munters and its $30 million investment and 270 new jobs in their expansion was one of 7 local or regionally announced projects last year. You'll see them across the bottom of the screen. It represents also Elbit America, Novanesis, Traditional Medicinals, Integer, Qualichem, and an expansion in Franklin County of Cornerstone Building brands. And these figures do not include the Google project, okay? So the partnership was proud to assist in this transformational project. We're looking for more news coming soon on the project, but we know it represents a new sector, a global validation of the region's ability to support and attract major investment, as well as some future growth opportunities. And again, the partnership being a public-private partnership, we're quite proud. Our private leadership was proud to join Botetourt County in celebrating what is sure to be a milestone project for not only Botetourt County, but the region. And certainly our private leaders recognize the transformational impact that project represents. But this region remains a center for manufacturing. Data from Headlight LLC last year shows the region is one of only 30% of metros that grew its manufacturing employment over the last year. In fact, the Roanoke region is in the top quarter nationally of metro regions when it comes to manufacturing sector growth. Again, this is surely a sign of the work of the partnership, but also our local partners, our local economic developers, and our local county and city leadership. $679 project opportunities in 2025. That's a 30% increase over 2024. I've given this presentation, I think, 6 times, and each time we can show an increase in opportunity. I think it's very accurate to say that the opportunity has never been greater in terms of attracting new investment into this region. Our web site and social media following, as well as our email contacts, continue to set records, reaching broader audiences. 2025 saw growth across all key performance indicators. We're out there putting the message forward in terms of how the region is an attractive place for investment, to direct to industry, as well as to consultants, brokers, and with our state partners, Virginia Economic Development Partnership. We're spreading the word and grateful to be doing it. The region achieved national recognition last year. Livability.com voted the region in the top 100 places to live. USA Today, I can't really take credit for this one, but we were happy to help celebrate one of the best destinations for fall colors. But again, we celebrate our natural infrastructure as well, the outdoors being a key part of our strategy. Of course, Lightcast reported the region is the top 1%, top third for talent attraction, and I was quite proud to be named in the top third of our region among metros for best place for food and beverage manufacturing. And that was actually put forward by a national site consultancy. So that was great news. Of course, we are working not only to attract jobs and investment, but we're also working to attract new residents. Part of that work involves Get to Know NOC and our talent portal and ecosystem our talent portal, I should say, where we are connecting employers directly with job seekers. And so we have 466 talent profiles, people signed up to use the portal. The portal represents 2,500 open positions from our largest employers. Again, 350 employers represented in that system. And we're seeking we've launched bold new initiatives, including a new biotech marketing initiative together with Curlian Clinic and Virginia Tech, partnering with the Roanoke-Blacksburg Innovation Alliance, and the city of Roanoke specifically, who owns an incubation facility together with Curlian Clinic. I should say Curlian Clinic owns the facility. The city of Roanoke invested in it on Jefferson Street. But we believe that the biotech sector opportunities will extend across the region. We have already seen this to some extent. We come across larger manufacturing opportunities, not just those who need incubation space. And so it is a regional sector and a regional opportunity. We're working with Virginia's Blue Ridge and a global consultant named Resonance to align our branding for economic development, talent, and tourism. We have some exciting, I think, news to share there soon as that project wraps up. But we're looking to align those marketing activities to gain greater synergy and greater impact. There's a ton of potential there, and in fact, there's quite a bit of literature out there about some of the leading markets in the United States are doing this. So we're happy to be right on the innovative edge, along with the likes of Orlando and some other bigger cities. And the Get to Know NOC pilot program, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, recognizes the Roanoke region and the Roanoke Regional Partnership are really ahead of the game on the talent front. In terms of talent attraction, our organization recognized that as an opportunity and a need going back really about 16 years ago. And so when most organizations were focused exclusively on attraction of jobs and investment. And so in recognition of that, VEDP invested state dollars in an advertising and marketing pilot program to focus on Get to Know NOC. And that has just wrapped up, and we're delving into the results of that. But I was really proud of that recognition and partnership opportunity with the state. On the outdoor front, our events continue to draw impact, $5.1 million in new impact, 56,000 attendees. Our events include the Blue Ridge Marathon, Down by Downtown, Go Cross, and the Go Outside Festival. 41 states represented, 4 countries represented, more than $41,000 donated, and more than 3,400 athletes. Those events do generate excess revenue. Some of that revenue is invested back into the mission of the partnership. By the way, our outdoor program is very entrepreneurial and self-supporting. So it's supported by event revenues and beverage sales on site. So those excess funds, again, they go back to supporting the partnership's marketing program. So there's some, in essence, funding relief for our investors, as well as it's reinvested into outdoor infrastructure. Here, the Project Outside initiative invested in 8 projects, $25,000 of funding. Over its life, has invested more than $205,000 in funding in 41 projects. Here in Botetourt County, that included parking lot improvements at the Gala access point to the James River. It included supporting BoCo Wild with the bouldering wall and bike ramps, as well as working with VDOT and Botetourt County staff on the Craig Botetourt Scenic Trail improvements. In 2025, again, we were proud to support several exciting strategic improvements, including regionally an in-river kayak park, a new skate park and pump track, as well as greenways. Sorry, sound cut out. Greenways at Explore Park, Jackson River Scenic Trail, and of course, Craig Botetourt. So something's happening here with the show. I'm sorry. Our talent program, 1,949 new residents did land regionally in 2025, and that's 2 times the level of growth since 2020. We have a talent ambassador network that represents every corner of the region, 39 ambassadors who put on 21 events themselves. These are volunteers who believe in the region, and they're helping us tell the story of why it's a great place to live. So they tell the story in ways that myself and my staff can't tell. They use all the appropriate Gen Z lingo and things that wouldn't sound very appropriate coming from me. So we're working to build connectivity between employers and higher education through the Talent Summit. We just held this year's event at Roanoke College. A large portion of those who attend are from private industry. And Onboard ROA is our summer internship and young professional program. We continue to host that event. Quarterly socials. We pride ourselves on being enthusiastically welcoming. We think that's key towards a growing and thriving economy. And we're hitting the road to higher education, being on campus. Just last year, we hit 5 schools. We're growing that. We've reached more than 500 students and 115 engagements. We believe there's infinite potential to attract young talent from colleges, universities, and connect them with our employers to grow our economy. Also proud to support the Gateway Crossing project, included research services, financial modeling service, as well as marketing materials, partnering with a private developer, but also partnering with county staff to support that project development. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank you most sincerely for your leadership and your investment. We're grateful for our partnership with you and your team. We have a highly productive partnership. We pride ourselves, on our highly productive partnership with county administration, with economic development, communications, parks and recreation, several departments, but those in particular. And it's a fantastic team. So thank you for the opportunity to continue to work with Botetourt County.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you for that great presentation and all your hard work, and your staff as well. Thank you for coming. Any questions that you have for Mr. Hall?
Actually did have a question. This could be like a really dumb question, John. And I apologize in advance if it's really dumb, but it's something I just have not understood in all the kind of financial reporting that I hear. Is the amount of capital investment a goal and a measurement? What does that mean for the average citizen?
Oh, great question, Supervisor Rotman. And I don't think it's a dumb question at all. Capital investment is key because it lessens the tax burden on the ordinary citizen, right? You achieve capital investment by way of an industry investing in real estate and equipment. That investment reduces the burden on the resident, in essence. So the more of the ability to grow your tax base and fund critical services by virtue of commercial industrial investment is a typical goal of an economic development program.
Okay, and is that related to the overall economic impact in some sort of quantifiable way, or?
Yeah, the economic impact figure is a separate figure. It is based on the operations of that business, but also the spending of that business among suppliers in the greater region, but also the spending of its workforce. It's talent on household services and so forth. And so it is quantified by virtue. We use two models, Jobs EQ and M-Plan. And it does demonstrate sort of the ripple effect, so to speak. It doesn't just begin and end at the business. It then multiplies as as they're spending with suppliers and spending of those households on goods and services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we can move towards item number 9, the resolution of intention of abandoning a portion of South Drive, Center Drive. Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This should be relatively brief. Before you is a resolution of intent to abandon a portion of South Center Drive. Our friends and neighbors up the hill, Altec, are running out of space. They are at capacity for parking. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to go up there and you'll see it's packed to the gills. And the real challenge here is they can't hire more folks that they need without addressing this. So they have requested to acquire a portion of South Center Drive that you can see up here highlighted in red from roughly the Botetourt County entrance to their current entrance, their current cul-de-sac. To accomplish this, the county has to initiate a process with VDOT to abandon the road without replacement. And that's the resolution that you have before you. Conveying the road will enable new parking where their current cul-de-sac sits, down at the bottom right of the image here. And it'll also facilitate approximately a $1 million investment next year with 30 hires at their plant. So again, here's a map in red is what they're requesting be abandoned. In yellow is what they're proposing to install a new cul-de-sac and dedicated right-of-way right across from the county entrance. If the board wishes to proceed, if you want to go to the next one, Brent. And I'm certainly not the expert on this, but this is something that Ashley Mathena with VDOT kindly provided to us. These are the steps before us for abandoning a secondary route without replacement road. And so, these are the steps. We're kind of at the first stop there. And once abandoned, we'll work with Altec on a process similar to the one that we conducted when they purchased county land for their recent truck parking expansion up the hill, if you all recall that. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Rosner? No questions. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to abandon.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Just to,
Aye.
Wait, well,
Mr. Chairman, just for clarity, this is initiation of the abandonment.
Yep.
We would do the posting and a couple of other items that are preparatory to the actual abandonment.
so this is approval of the attachment of the resolution.
I move to approve the resolution.
And I'll second again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
It's easy. Too bad we have to go through all that.
number 10, if we can move number 10 to consideration of owner requested zoning ordinance. Mr. McCoy.
Good afternoon, members of the board and Mr. Chair. Before you is an owner-initiated zoning text amendment. So as you may know, the zoning ordinance allows the board, the planning commission to initiate a zoning text amendment. It also permits any owner of property in the county to do the same. So before you this afternoon is a request to amend the Chapter 25 zoning Article 2 district regulations of the agricultural A1 zoning ordinance to add a new use to that allowed by special exception permit, most likely. The new proposed use has been defined by the applicant, but it's basically to permit an additional use in the assisted living facility definition, which is quite narrowly defined. It's limited to either folks who are seniors, folks who have some developmental disabilities, or folks that have semi-dependent needs. It is very narrowly defined, and so the owner of property at Cave Creek Living Facility. Would like to transition that facility to provide some support to folks aging out of the foster care system. Those who meet the 18 pretty much year-old age limit and then are kind of kicked into the real world, to provide some kind of opportunity to give them some skills to transition from that type of use into real life. So this opportunity here for you all this afternoon is just to permit that to go to the Planning Commission for them to consider and then recommend new text to you all again for you to look at in the future. Ms. Cephas is here in the crowd this afternoon, and she's happy to expand upon that if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to do so as well.
Any
Is-
questions?
Is the planning I'm sorry.
Yeah, any questions? I'm sorry.
Is the planning commission also, is it a possibility that they would not recommend any text amendment whatsoever?
Certainly. So this is the first step in the process. So you all are saying that, yes, this should go to the Planning Commission for them to look at. Once you do so, it becomes your text amendment. So we as staff will be working with the Planning Commission to come up with some language that we think would meet the needs of the applicant as well as protect the needs of the county. And then the Planning Commission will recommend some language to you all. If they say, no, this isn't something that really works, we're not interested in seeing this, they may discuss that and bring that to you all. However, they have the opportunity to amend that text the way they see fit and then give that to you all to ultimately say yes or no at a later date.
Do you do any kind of economic analysis when you're taking a look at whether that use would be viable for the county?
I personally don't typically look at any financial implications of a use. We typically focus on land use. This one is likely envisioned as a special exception permit, so it would have another layer of public insight over it and oversight into it. We haven't actually defined the use or really worked too hard yet at this point to actually determine what that use will look like. This is just, as I said, the first step of the process.
I'm just curious. I mean, would it be advantageous to the people of the county in some way for maybe the economic development, the planning people to work together and see, is this really something that is economically viable for the community?
Certainly. I mean, I could see that being to some benefit to the county. If you'd like us to look into that, we'd be happy to do so.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
I think it's viable to do so. The other thing is I'd like to do is if we get Miss Cephas down here to kind of expand upon these children moving up, that'd be fantastic.
Certainly. Proud of Rich. Make it later.
Thank you for coming down here.
Yes, sir. My name is Cheryl Cephas, and my family owns Cave Creek Assisted Living Facility.
Could you I'm so sorry. I'm just having trouble hearing you. Can you thank you
Bring
so
that down
much.
just a little bit.
Thanks.
Okay. So right now it is a standing assisted living facility, and it's been that way for about 20 plus years. And there's been a transition with the ownership. And so what we're doing is we're looking to go basically from the elderly to the youth. And we want to focus on, excuse me, I'm so nervous. We want to focus on the youth that are transitioning out of the foster care system and are not ready for independence. And we want to offer basically life skills, agricultural skills, just the opportunity to get themselves there before they go, into the real world. And, for those that don't have family or anything to lean on, once they hit that age, and then they're dismissed from the foster care system. So we want to offer classes, educational classes. We have it where we're going to offer therapy as well, counseling, as well as, job placements in the community. Talk to a lot of people. I got a few people on board in Roanoke that are, willing to help and teach different skills and, give them a place to save money. The program will be anywhere from 6 to 12 months and where they save money, and then we can, safely put them into a home. They'll be obligated to save some money with us. And then, we'll let that accumulate. And then at the end of their time in the program, we'll see that they move into an apartment for themselves. And then we will offer an aftercare program as well. That's kind of the idea of it.
Any questions for Cheryl here?
Will this be your first facility?
No, right. For the youth, it will be. Right now, it is a licensed operating assisted living facility for veterans.
Okay, do you have any site in mind right now?
Any site?
Yes.
The building right now, that is what we're trying to convert over. The present building, if that's what you mean,
Okay,
as far
great.
as.
Because I looked you up on your website and it just had Troutville with no street address.
If I may,
go ahead.
the current facility is off of Route 11, just before you get to Troutville. I don't have the exact address in front of me, but it's right up Route 11. It's an existing facility that kind of looks like an old hotel or a motel. It's red for what it's worth, but it's Cave Creek Living Facility. Across the street is kind of a shop of some sort, like an auto body shop. And it's just before you get to
Greenwood.
what they're saying. Yes. Greenwood Restaurant, right?
Oh, I know
next
where the
before-
Greenwood is. Okay.
Thank you.
80, it's
Oh, is that
888 highway.
is that facility that's as you're going north on the right-hand side that's got a bunch of buildings in it?
As you're going north, yes. On the
Okay.
right-hand side, it's right next to the Greenwood. The number's 8088 the highway.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
So as these children progress or these young adults progress and they exit the program, how do you follow those? Or is there a process where you will follow those to the decisions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll keep, everyone will have a caseworker and management, and we will follow up to at least about 5 years or so. And then, of course, give them contact to come back to resources in case anything happens. But we definitely have a follow-up program that we want to offer to them.
How many years you been doing this?
I've been here since 2010. And so we've been working with, the elderly and
Yeah.
the veterans and the
Very
VA.
good.
Yeah, for a while now. So we just kind of wanted to switch over the demographics.
Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, board members?
How many folks do you think that you'll cop out at? What would be your capacity?
We are licensed right now for a 55-bed facility, but that's for the elderly, obviously. And then we deal with dementia type residents. So a lot of them don't drive. So for the property right now, and then, you have youth in there, and then they'll probably have their vehicles. We're looking somewhere around 20 to 25, give or take. So yeah, it wouldn't be the full of what we're licensed for now under the ALF.
Okay, thank you.
There.
Any more questions? Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So before us, we have consideration, text amendment for the planning commission and remove to the planning commission. Do I hear a motion to refer this consideration?
So moved.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And now the consideration of participation in an opioid settlement that becomes really confusing.
Mr. Chairman, I had to study this stuff in law school, and studied this stuff. Complex civil litigation.
Not the opioids.
I took on asbestos litigation, actually, which is similar in terms of the character. I get confused by this stuff. I had a federal judge teach that course to me, and this stuff confuses me still. Anyway, going way back when at this point, I guess, 3, 4, 5 years ago now, 5 probably, we originally began participating in litigation relating to opioids. And our original lawsuit was filed in state court along with about, I want to say it was 75 or 80 other localities in Virginia. And several thousand across the country. Those cases have taken a lot of twists, turns, lefts, rights, backwards and forwards. Now, for the most part, these cases have been consolidated in federal court, in Ohio. In the process of this, a variety and of course, you guys have probably seen at least some mention in the newspaper about the Sackler family, which was the primary ownership group of Purdue Pharma, that declared bankruptcy and did a settlement of the opioid cases against Purdue, which was getting ready to face a massive verdict in that case. However, there are a lot of smaller companies, both manufacturers and midstream wholesalers, that are settling out. And in this particular instance, there are 6 midstream wholesalers, regional wholesalers in our region of what you might call the Southern Mid-Atlantic or the Upper South, depending on your perspective on things. Associated Pharmacies, J.M. Smith, Louisiana Wholesale Drug, Morris and Dixon Company, the North Carolina Mutual Wholesale Drug Company, and United Natural Foods Incorporated. They are proposing to enter into a comprehensive settlement with every locality in the United States with a population of 30,000 or more. The total amount that they are willing to settle for is $97,625,000, which sounds like a lot until you find out that Botetourt County's share is $4,580. So
I thought it was like 7,000. I must have misread that.
you would be right, except that you're not taking out the contingent fee portion that goes to the lawyers.
That was the gross, not the net. Oh.
See,
20%.
Ms. Rodman, I should have gone into contingent fee work, this hourly stuff, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I think that my firm, we have an attorney who does, one of her primary jobs is to monitor and keep up on this litigation. I've consulted with her. I've also gone over this myself. I think that we can recommend that you go through with this. Frankly, there aren't a lot of other options. And for $4,600, even if you were going to pursue another option, it would cost you more than it was worth pretty quickly. So I know that that isn't probably the most elegant recommendation a lawyer will ever give you, but I think it happens to be the truth. I'm open for any questions.
I just have one question. It looked like there were like 800 billion restrictions on how you could use the funds. I assume that we are able to use the 4,000 in one of the many enumerated ways in the agreement.
I think, Mr. LaRue, you can speak to that with more detail, but the short answer is that there is sort of a broad, all of the agreements and settlements and all of the verdicts have similar language in them, as well as the Opioid Abatement Authority, which is a state entity that uses the state's share of these funds and gives grants in part to localities for these same purposes. They all have, with minute differences, the same strings. And so we're already setting ourselves to be equipped to do those. You probably have a better sense of exactly what we're thinking of doing, though.
So at this point, the only money that has been expended out of these funds to this point has been for a consultant from Denver to help us with developing a plan to actually be able to spend the funds. It seems like that might be a little overkill. However, to your point, is that the funds must be spent as prescribed, or there are clawback features from each one of these companies that are issuing the funds. Matter of fact, just recently, we ended up having to give an accounting of one particular company and the funds that they had provided. And so I anticipate that we will have more and more of those companies randomly asking
for an accounting of those funds so that they will know that every nickel has been used for opioid abatement. If it is not used for that, then I suspect that there could end up being the clawback features that we would never want to actually have. So I've been working with Celeste Parker on some of this, with our consultant out of Denver that was here several times, also with Blue Ridge Behavioral Health, with several different agencies that were involved, health department and others, to come up with a plan. And also with John Alexander, Commonwealth Attorney, who has been working on this extensively to be able to actually start spending the funds. So we are trying to make sure that we are spending the funds appropriately, because we would never want any kind of clawback that's associated. And so it's very stringent, very narrow, because of all of the restrictions that you mentioned.
So, it's only $4,000 or whatever. Is our cost less
So-
than $4,000 of administering this fund?
So what has happened is these funds are building up, and I couldn't give you an exact accounting, but somewhere around $300,000 is what we have. And that will actually continue to come in over the next 15 or 16 years. So there will be dribs and drabbles that will come in as we go forward. So it actually, over the life of the program, will end up having some significant money that would be associated, and it hopefully would be used to the benefit of those that are afflicted with these kind of issues.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Any other questions? If not, we're authorizing the staff to execute all necessary documents upon review and approval by the county, or with our county attorney. So do I have a motion for the approval?
So move.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. If we can go to the appointments now, consider appointment to the Clio Consortium and vacancy. I'd recommend Supervisor Rotman. Any? Okay, I move to make, recommend and move to make Supervisor Rotman for that appointment.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Consider appointment of Peggy Johnston and Steve Clinton to the Historical Greenfield Advisory Council. I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
I had a
Aye.
question before we vote. Are there two people coming off? Or are these two additions?
Additions? Okay, thank you. That answer everything?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Be a liaison.
Consider appointment of Mike Hudson of the Historical. Yes. I just said, oh my goodness. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Consider appointment of Mike Hudson of the Historical Smithfield as liaison to the Historical Greenfield Advisory Council. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And now we move to number 13, which everybody's been waiting for here, is the citizen comment period. I reiterate that these will be Botetourt citizens, and we have 3 minutes. Please, if there is something that has gone over, please try not to repeat. Just agree with the person, the citizen that said something, and move forward. The first is David Sane. I'd also ask if we could refrain from clapping throughout each one of the speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Mr. Snyder at his town meeting suggested there would be some news coming from the Timmons Group about the evaluation of Orchard Lake and the dam. I don't know if that is included in the reports part of number 14 or not. It'd be better if I could tailor my comments to that report if it's going to be presented. Nevertheless, let me just say that the residents who live adjacent to Orchard Lake or nearby, and even a large group from the county itself, continue to be enthusiastically in support of maintaining Orchard Lake Dam and the lake for a number of reasons. I'm not an ornithologist, but I just spotted I'm pretty sure a great blue heron on that lake, as well as an osprey. It's a beautiful lake. And it would be a travesty for that to be, for that lake to be destroyed. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Do we have an update, Mac?
As far as I know, not yet. We'll be asking a couple of people to present.
Okay.
I do have an update. I spoke to Mr. Norman before the meeting, and he and I can just give you a quick update on what's happened in the last month.
Okay. Okay.
Danny Goad.
He sits up. Sometimes he sits up.
And on deck would be Lisa Singh. Deck. Yep, on deck.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Danny Goad. I live in the Valley District. I'm here to request some additional information regarding the Google data centers. I request a copy of the cash flow analysis for the data centers that includes the anticipated real estate taxes, the machinery taxes, the business personal property, including the depreciation schedule for machinery and depreciation schedule for office equipment. Include in that also the utility development cost, including but not limited to the water consumption, the electric consumption, gas consumption, and any other resource that you will be consuming. I also request any other cost associated with the Google data center that the citizens might be having to pay, and how we would do that cash flow analysis to determine the payback period, and also what the benefit is to the county. I also want to have in that cash flow analysis the payments that we'll be making to other localities or any other agencies that might be associated with it. I can also send you an email to request that information so you don't miss anything. I appreciate that. I just want to make one comment. I read through part of the information and I look at the arrangement, I'll call it an arrangement, between Google and the Economic Development Authority, and I guess the Board of Supervisors involved in there somewhere. But I must ask you the question, who's the dog and who's the tail? Because it appears to me that the tail is wagging the dog. Is the dog Google? Is the dog the EDA? Or is the dog the Board of Supervisors? I appreciate the request of Linda Rotman today to pull out a portion of those monies and discuss them. Google is telling you how to spend your money that they paid you for land that you own, And the EDA is telling you how to spend that money. And I just leave you. Is the tail wagging the dog? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thane. On deck is Kevin Roberts.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. I appreciate the chance to speak. Anisha Sane, Amsterdam District. I'm here to ask for the preservation of Orchard Lake. I know the Timmons Group is working through a dam break and inundation study and other aspects which are not currently available on the Botetourt County website. But I've been asked multiple times by Mr. Snyder, who is my representative, to be kind to my neighbors. My neighbors Google. Our neighborhood is right next to Greenfield, and I would like the county to be kind to us. The neighborhood's been there for decades. It's beautiful. Let's keep Botetourt beautiful. Development to destroy nature with no purpose, that's not what we at Botetourt want. I would also point out that the grant cycle ends on March 31st for this next cycle, and it's a super grant cycle in that there's a whole lot more money available for repair or reduction of dam to below capacity that it would be regulated by the state this year. March 31st is coming up pretty quick. The county website says we have until April, I think it was said 6th that the grants are due, but that is not correct. It also said that the consultant will assist Botetourt County in pursuing available state grant funding related to any work done. So our neighborhood loves our neighborhood. We love Botetourt County. We would ask that Timmons Group host a meeting with their findings with us before a decision is presented to the board to be made. And we would like to be treated as good neighbors as we are asked to be doing to some of the businesses that are coming into the county. Thank you for that consideration.
Thank you. Kevin Roberts. Heck is Laura Newton.
Check. Kevin Roberts, Sovereign, Virginia, and Fincastle, Virginia. Article 1, Bill of Rights, a declaration of rights made by the good people of Virginia in the exercise of their sovereign powers, which rights do pertain to them and their posterity as the basis and foundation of government. That's Article 1, the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of Virginia, something you all took an oath to defend or uphold. So I'd like to talk about a few other important points of that document. Section 2, people, the source of power, that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people, that magistrates are trustees and servants, and at all times amenable to them. This language dates to the 1776 Declaration of Rights, emphasizing popular sovereignty. Government officials exercise power as trustees accountable to the people. In this foundational sense, magistrates refers to public officials or government officials generally, and not narrow judicial rule. Trustees, fiduciaries, or stewards holding power and trust for the benefit of the people, not for personal gain, privilege, or independent authority. 3, servants. This emphasizes subordination and humility. Amenable, answerable, accountable, or liable to be called to account by the people. Article 1, Section 3, government instituted for the common benefit. The government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community, continuing on, and is most effectively secured against the danger of maladministration. Maladministration, lack of care, judgment, honesty, or management in something, improper administration. Examples, general, would include abuse of power, delay in action, disparity in treatment, unfairness, wrong advice decisions, failure to follow procedures, ineffective control, lack of response, reply to a complainant or inquirer, synonyms of maladministration, mismanagement, corruption, dishonesty, incompetence, inefficiency, malpractice, misrule. Examples locally might include corruption or conflicts of interest in land use decisions, misfeasance, nonfeasance, misuse of taxpayer resources, nepotism. Article 1, Section 15, qualities necessary for the preservation of a free government. I'll skip down, but includes firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, and virtue. Frugality could lend itself to balanced budgets, unnecessary spending. I'd like to thank Ms. Rotman for attempting to add scrutiny to item B. It's my opinion, any funds going to the EDA should be heavily scrutinized. In closing, I'd just like to remind you, you all took an oath to this Constitution of Virginia, not the legal code. Thanks.
Laura Newton. On deck is Frank Lucia.
Laura Newton, Fincastle District. Last Sunday, I was sitting on my back porch enjoying a warm day. I listened to bird songs, woodpeckers, a rooster, wind in the trees. These sounds are my joy, and if they will likely be taken from me if these data centers are built. My house is 2.8 miles from the proposed Google Center. The center will use diesel generators that create noise pollution. While generators may be there as backup, that does not mean they will not be running all the time. They must be used every day to keep their motors in working condition. Diesel generators are the source of horrible air pollution that causes cancer and triggers asthma. And critically, Greenfield Elementary School is right next door. Will the county be liable for bringing this pollution to our communities? Will taxpayers receive money to help with their healthcare costs? Also, are you planning to grant a special ordinance to the data center for them to violate noise limits? That's a question I have for you. Please, you must consider how this will affect our peaceful communities. Property values will go down. 3 data center buildings will take our natural resources, pollute air and water, and generate so much noise that we cannot sit on our porches. People who live in areas with existing data centers have said the following. Residents said they could hear the data center even with their windows closed. It led to anxiety and affected their sleep, mental health, and productivity. Even residents miles away from the facility complained about the noise. We're getting industrial noise that is disturbing. It doesn't prevent us from going about our daily lives, but it significantly impacts quality of life. It's an artificial noise that just drove people crazy. I'm not exaggerating. It would go through the walls. It would reach out far. A professor studying how noise affects people says, being alive is not sufficient. One is entitled to live a decent quality of life. These people are not yet physically ill, but they're miserable and unhappy. Members of the board, you must consider the residents of Botetourt. I urge you, back out of this contract, be transparent with residents, and realize that our health will be impacted by the pollution. Our quality of life, or livability, as the Rona guy calls it, will be impacted by the noise and light. Our property values will drop dramatically as no one will want to live near these data centers. Our lives are worth more than an easy out for balancing a county budget. Please listen, but also be responsive to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Lucia, on deck, Melissa Smith.
I'm going to need every second. Hold on. My name is Frank Lucia, and I oppose the Google Data Center project. I am a property owner of 315 Stoneleigh Drive. Not to sound dramatic, but my property is essentially ground zero relative to the data center site. My comments today will focus on governance and the process moving forward. The main benefit county officials have stated for the project are tax revenue generation and economic gains. It is important to remember that you are not a board of directors of a company charged with maximizing economic value for shareholders. You're a county board of supervisors representing county residents. This includes ensuring that a proper quality of life is maintained. Beyond the economics, has the county considered the moral hazard of advancing big tech? Or has the county considered the physical hazard of placing a target for terrorism within a heavily populated area of the county? County officials have unofficially stated that this is a done deal and we must be prepared to accept Google into our neighborhood if they follow all necessary laws and ordinances. The problem with the statement is that the laws and ordinances are being modified to allow them to comply. This is being done without transparency and without public input. County officials have also stated that public input has been limited because they were under an NDA to negotiate the most favorable terms for county and its residents. The name Google keeps being referenced, but it's important to understand that the county has contracted with a limited liability company. The reason why companies like Google use this structure is to shield assets and limit exposure. The county should have required Google and its affiliates to establish an indemnification fund and a process for the county or residents to make claims for any damages incurred. Remember, the Flint, Michigan water situation wasn't supposed to happen. Neither were Superfund sites, but they did. And the point is, things happen and the county has struck a deal with virtually no protection for residents. Next, let me turn to the Economic Development Performance Agreement that was posted to the Botetourt County website. Section 3.2 of the agreement indicates that the county shall provide expedited permitting for the facility. Specifically, item 4 addresses special exception permits or zoning ordinance amendments required for the operation of the facility and each data center. Clearly, the above language is very broad and can mean virtually anything if the requested changes are approved. What this also means is that a detailed assessment of the current zoning was not completed to determine if the project could be constructed under the current laws. Accordingly, the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors must recognize that any special exception permit or ordinance amendment request considered for the project also has a corresponding material adverse impact to Botetourt County residents. For example, if a request is made to modify the established noise emission standards to accommodate the massive diesel generators, it is a reduction to the rights and protections afforded to the county residents. Let me close with 2 final points. When it comes to business development or economic development work, I recognize there's an exuberance associated with making the big deal. But there's also a saying that sometimes the best deal is the deal that's not done. And 2, if you're not familiar with my property, please take a look at the tax maps, the aerial overheads, or come walk my property line and simply ask yourself, would you want to be in this situation?
Nancy Hartman.
Go ahead, Melissa. Yes.
Go ahead. I'm deliberately wasting time. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Waste not, want not. Haste makes waste, especially concerning money, water, power, and time. These may be old-fashioned adages, but they still hold water with me to this day. I, for one, do not want to pay higher rates for water, power, nor taxes as the data center that is planned goes in. My primary concern today is to address the numbers that do not make sense, specifically the monies that have already been spent and the timeline of expected events to unfold, such as getting a check from Google. Developing water and power resources yet to be built as these data centers are installed. How much money has already been spent as it relates to the project development, and where was it sourced? When is the time that the data centers are planned to go in, and have they met all the permit requirements? What is the potential cost to Botetourt County citizens for developing the water and power resources infrastructure that will be required? When the numbers do not make sense or stop adding up, then it is time for common sense to kick in. If the board has made a deal for us that is going badly, then we need for you all to be our advocates for the best life experience to unfold for us here at home. The timetables, water tables, and money tables are all relevant to us. As members of the board, we each rely on you all for our best advocacy, support, and nurturing the Botetourt lifestyle for ourselves and generations to come. I'm respectfully requesting each of you to examine not only the details and implications of this deal being fulfilled, what all that will mean, but also to examine yourselves as advocates for the conservation of our resources, for the conservation of our shared values, and that many of us do not agree that the data centers being erected in our county they do not align with our values. Also, once there is one erected, what is there to prevent any others from coming in? Can we please have assurances from the board that no more deals like this will be made in the future? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nancy Hartman, Kathy Booz on deck.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am a resident of Amsterdam District and am speaking this afternoon in opposition to the current Project Raspberry Data Center proposal. In addition to other concerns today, I would particularly like to address the noise pollution generated by a data center. I have been an educator in a professional or volunteer capacity for 59 years and feel strongly committed to the welfare of children and families. They hold our future, and safeguarding their well-being is our imperative. On its website, Botetourt County describes itself, and I'm reading from the website, nestled in the scenic mountains of Western Virginia, Botetourt County is part of the stunning Virginia's Blue Ridge region. With easy access to the Appalachian Trail, Blue Ridge Parkway, and the James River, it's a haven for nature lovers and outdoor enthusiasts. And under outdoor recreation, from rugged trails to serene waterways to something in between, like our Kids in Parks Cherry Blossom Trail, we have something for everyone who loves the outdoors. Yes, we love the outdoors and market it heavily. The Cherry Blossom Trail mentioned is adjacent to the Project Raspberry site, which is also a very short distance from the Greenfield Recreation Park and Greenfield Elementary School. By virtue of their intended purpose, these venues are frequented by large numbers of children. Data centers' average operating sound level is 55 to 85 decibels, similar to a constant hum or highway traffic. Backup generators running for testing or power outages can produce up to 100 to 110 decibels. Prolonged exposures to sounds above 85 decibels can cause hearing damage. 100 is only safe for adults for 2 hours and 110 decibels for 30 minutes. Children's ear canals are smaller and therefore concentrate sound, causing more damage at the same decibel level. Additionally, data center noise is low frequency sound that merely passes through barriers and buffers more easily. The sound is constant, some might even say relentless. And I'll play for you this video of data center sound. To subject children whose bodies are still developing to this hazard is antithetical to Botetourt County's public messaging, and because of lack of opportunity for citizen input, a betrayal of public trust. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Kathy Booz on deck. Kathy Benefield.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Kathy Booz, and I come here today to voice my opposition for the data center because of my concern for water usage. It scares me. Over the past 6 months, I have been overwhelmed with information regarding the effects of data centers across our nation and how it has affected the water usage. I see this as a red flag that we should be taking very seriously. Why do we want to risk our precious resource of water for data? Just yesterday, a young man spoke with me, and he had grown up here in Botetourt, and now he was living in Montana. He asked if I knew what was going on in that area where he was living. And I said, no. He said that data centers had come in there and now they were in a water crisis. The same day, another man approached and said that he was not in favor of the way data centers had pushed into communities, and he didn't think it was the right way that they had treated the citizens. And then he told us that he built data centers. I would just like to ask the board to please understand why we are opposed to this and to do the right thing and to stop the data centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Benefield. Deck is Christina Liana.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Kathy Benefield. I thank you for the opportunity to stand before you today and to speak about opposing Project Raspberry or the Google Data Center. I am a resident of, have been a resident of this community, Amsterdam District, for over 21 years. We moved here and built our dream home because of the beauty of the environment and the outdoor activities that Botetourt provides. If you approve the Google Data Center, it will restore the environment as we all know and love today. If the Google Data Center goes in, it'll be 1.4 miles from my home. I'm not going to go over and reiterate what other members of our community have spoken to you today. I am most opposed with the noise. That is most distressing to me. And of course, the increase on our water supply and electricity. Just recently learning about the proposed data center, I would like to read you something that I recently learned about the corporations that are coming in. There are risks with AI data centers. The data center executives and lobbyists are getting paid to push their false and misleading information on communities because of the contracts that they have to open AI to build and provide a certain number of facilities and computation and technological outputs in a certain amount of time. They stand to lose billions of dollars if we don't move quickly. These contracts should not be our problem. We do not need to put our communities, our cities, our health, and environment at great risk to help them satisfy their contracts. In closing, I will leave you with this. Once our land is gone, it's gone. We are all stewards of this land. We have a responsibility to God, the community, our families, our future generations to make sure that we did the very best in protecting our environment, our quality of life, and making the best choice for sustainability for economic growth. Again, oppose the building of the Google Data Center in Daleville, Virginia, and would like to request a moratorium until all issues can be addressed. And also would like to request that you hold a public town hall meeting to give our citizens the chance to get information and ask valid questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Lena, yes,
Is that like a 10-minute break?
sure. We're going to take a 10-minute break here. All right, we're going to recess. next on deck. Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. I apologize.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Christine Liana, Amsterdam District, and as with many others, I would be affected by this data center. So two things. First of all, you've been hearing, at least for over a half hour now, the facts that are not being disseminated by your communications department and by the Western Virginia Water Authority, which incidentally was sued last year for redacting public information. If I understand correctly, the board works for your constituents and the county administrator works under the board, but it appears that it's been in reverse order for too many years with their homegrown EDA and your NDAs and your sleight of hands and your refinancing and your shell companies. So we, your constituents, request a 6 p.m. special meeting with this specific agenda item being the Google Data Center project with public comments. This meeting should be held at least a week prior to the April 28th regular Board of Supervisors meeting and advertised publicly through the county website, the Fincastle Herald, and the Roanoke Times. And too many times when constituents have presented you with petitions, they've been sometimes not even acknowledged, most often ignored, and then the board does what it wants anyway. And that has to stop because you all work for us and the administrator works under you.
Thank you. Yeah. And on deck, Dennis DeHart, or Denise DeHart, I'm sorry.
Hello. Hello, my name is Linda Nikolauskas, and I live in the Amsterdam District. My husband and I moved to Botetourt County from New York City 34 years ago. We didn't have jobs here. We didn't have family here. We moved here solely for a better quality of life. Unfortunately, the overdevelopment of Daleville has destroyed that. It is apparent that Botetourt County is more interested in the money than the quality of life for their citizens. I am for development, but smart development. It should be done for the betterment of the citizens. The citizens are never asked to vote or to have any say as to what is being built. We never know until it's a done deal, hidden under the cover of NDAs. We watch as fast food restaurants, a noisy car wash, a hotel, and now a Wawa, a quarter a mile away from Sheetz. Not to mention the many apartment complexes, one after another, and more to come. All this development spills out to 220, which is now a traffic nightmare. But by far, the worst decision you have made is to approve a data center in the middle of our community, which we were first told it was a data center. About 6 months later, we were told it's a hyperscale data center. It doesn't take much research to know a data center is not a good neighbor. Before this was approved, my question would be, was there any site visits made? What research was done? On a list of pros and cons, the cons are many. Water usage, electric usage, air pollution, noise pollution, destruction of wildlife, nature, and I could go on. My question is, can you guarantee us that these factors will not affect our quality of life? I don't think you can give us a guarantee. The one and only pro is money. I don't know. That's all I found. Can you drink the money? Is my increased electric bill going to be paid by that money? Is that money going to clean the air of carbon monoxide and diesel exhaust? Is that money going to stop the low frequency noise we're going to hear? If you ask the citizens that you work for if the money is worth their quality of life, I know the answer would be a resounding no. In closing, we have submitted petitions after petitions signed by citizens to hold a Board of Supervisors meeting at 6 p.m. so that they can attend to voice their concerns. All I ask is please consider that request. Thank you so much.
And M. Stratton on deck.
Thank you, Board of Supervisors, and I won't take but a second. I spoke at length last month regarding opposing the Google data center, and I think we've heard today so many reasons why we're against it, and I would just implore you to look into that further and more closely, all the implications that have been mentioned here today. And I'd also like to request that we can maybe do the 6 o'clock meeting for questions and concerns that the community has regarding the matter. Maybe you could even reassure us. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I have to say today. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. On deck, M. Stratton. Okay. Terry Broccoli. On deck is Jesse Behrman.
Hello, Terry Valley District. Thank you all, Board of Supervisors, for being here today. I just have a few concerns. Backstory, I grew up in Silicon Valley. Google, Apple, all the big tech companies came in there. That place is a disaster. Their power, with all their solar, their wind, all their problems that they've created on that coast, and now they're coming here. And I was in my 20s when all of that started, and I never thought that I would be in my retirement ages fighting Google on the East Coast. I have a real problem with them coming here from the simple fact that what is it that we're going to get except for a big, huge environmental disaster? With them coming and the solar farms coming, it doesn't work. They did it out there and they've had nothing but brownouts, fires, all kinds of stuff. The one thing that I would like to ask each board member is that, have you visited a data center? Like, have you guys done a field trip to a data center to hear what the community in that area is saying after an up and running data center? Do I have any yeses? No? Okay, so I would like to request that you guys do a site visit to a data center, and maybe you can report back to us when you have that meeting at 6 p.m. at, I'm saying LB because that's the only place that's big enough for the county to hear what you have to say. The other question that I have for you is, I know that President Trump was doing a roundtable with Google and Microsoft and all the big tech companies as to him saying that they have to build their own power plants. They cannot tie into our grid. Has that been something that Google has shared with you guys? That's a question, yes or no? Oh, they're not going to answer.
As of not yet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Scott Horn.
There is a site plan.
There is what?
There's an on-site plan that we're going to look
Okay,
at, so.
perfect.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Trustee Behrman?
Hello again. I'm back with another petition. For the record, this will be the second petition that I have handed in to the board. Again, this is in regards to demand for a 6 p.m. special meeting. Those undersigned on this petition declare that we want the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors to hold a special meeting at 6 p.m. with the only agenda item to be the Google AI Data Center project. We demand that our Board of Supervisors hear our comments publicly and hold a meeting at 6 p.m. for the subject of public comments on the data center only. We demand that this meeting shall be held ASAP, and the date and time of the meeting will be advertised to the public through the Botetourt County website and the media at least 1 week in advance so citizens can plan to attend. So again, I've been pounding the pavement, getting signatures. I think the overwhelming response that I've got has been against this data center. And I think being our representatives, you do owe us a voice and a time and a place for that to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our Botetourt citizens. Now let's go to our board member comments and reports. But before that, if we could have some capital projects. First of all, Rich Evans, if we could give us the capital projects on the courthouse and 9/11, the fire station.
Have an update on Orchard Lake, I think.
Who would? Rich. I think
might
Mike.
do it too.
No, come on down. So what I have done, I'll come back as soon as we finish all the board comments. We can come back possibly and meet with the non-residents. All right, but most importantly, I think is our residents. Excuse me. We're going to go ahead and go with our board comments right now.
I think she lives here.
Chloe, what I will be doing is after this, we'll get together and you can speak. But let me get done with all this first.
Chairman, members of the board, I appreciate y'all having me. I'll give you a quick update on my two capital projects. The first one being the Botetourt County Circuit Courthouse. So as most of y'all have probably seen, we've had a crane out there for the last couple months. We are erecting steel and we are hoping to have that crane out of here in a couple weeks. We're also been installing the stone veneer along 220, along the retainage wall and along the retaining wall behind the jail. So that big concrete wall is now looking a lot better. I hope all of y'all would agree with me on that. We're also installing the courthouse column footers and piers. The big white columns that go out in front of the building. Those are where we've poured the concrete. Now we're putting up the steel so we can do that. We're bringing the lower parking lot to grade. We're not far from that. A long ways away from paving it, but we are putting in the footers or for all the light poles that'll be going down in there. We are expecting the cupola to be here mid-May, maybe late May. And we do that, we're going to have a topping out ceremony, and we certainly will have expect as many of y'all to show up as possible for that. That's a pretty significant milestone in a project. And we're also, as far as our process go, our completions go, is we're got our slab on. We're getting ready to pour the slab on our main deck, which is not the basement but the first floor. We had some problems with some steel welding. We've got that resolved. So, and just as a little comment here, I'm not sure why it doesn't show the whole screen correctly. But so far to this point in the project, we've saved over $250,000 with our under direct purchase program. So and that is that's a lot of work, and I have to thank a whole lot of people for helping me do it, especially Donna, Karen, and Stephanie, but and David. But it adds a lot of work, but it's certainly worth the cost. And we're, like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier. I don't know, I haven't been here twice, but we were finishing the veneer along 220, capping that off. We've also added some new telephone poles and raised the cables along 220 along Back Street. And here's just some pictures of the actual progress itself. Once again, a lot of work has been done. A lot of steel has been placed. This project is moving well. And I got some milestones for you if you'd like them. We're looking for permanent power to the building itself sometime around early winter, around November. We're looking for substantial completion still in September 2027. And once again, I said we'll be placing the cupola on top of the building in mid to late May. Here's the inside of the wall along 220, just to show you the rock wall and the coming to grade there. This is putting the veneer in around behind the jail. And believe it or not, most all that's done. We've planted grass and it's looking way better than this picture shows it, but I had to have this ready a couple weeks ago. And it's just more steel decking and concrete being poured along the building. Any questions on it?
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right. I also have the courthouse project. And I will say, I'm sure all of y'all have seen, they've been working minimum 6 days a week out there, and that project is moving at the speed of light. I've been very pleased at the speed. So we've, I said, installing drywall in the radio shop. We've already installed it. We're painting it now and completing that. We've completed the metal siding on the radio shop. We've also finished most of the brick on the radio shop, the brick veneer. It says applying at number 3, but we've completed most of it. We were in the midst of MEP rough-in, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We've got HVAC set. We've got large exhaust fan set. We've got the building. I mean, it's not far. Hopefully Matt will be able to move in that building next couple of weeks, probably mid-month. We're erecting steel in the transition. So from the existing courthouse to the extension, there has to be a transition piece there. And we're placing the steel there. Most all the other steel for the first floor has already been laid. We had to bore under East Park Drive so we can connect to a tower that'll be there for communications. Obviously, we've completed slab on deck on the entire first floor. And we have run into some delays there, mostly due to rock removal. We didn't anticipate the amount of rock that's there. The courthouse we did, here we didn't. And then I have a little note that I always like to say, the access road, if you're going to that church, please slow down. There's construction workers working there. We've put speed bumps, and it's still, please maintain the speed because it is a active work area with lots of people working with a lot of machinery. We've worked hard to keep that, there we go. We've worked hard to keep that road open so it's easier to access for the church. This is the inside of the radio shop. As you can see, we've, most of the interior is in the finishing stages. There's the stairs and a little look down on the actual 3-bay shop. Where you see that blue on the upper right-hand side, that is now brick. The wall to the south, which would be facing that way in that picture, is mostly brick as well. Completion. This is the 911 center itself. Actually, this is the fire department part of it. This is we're already framing walls and poured the decking. Once again, this project is at a very accelerated rate. And then there's a little cleaner picture of the decking and the concrete on the decking. And that's what I got.
Thank you. Any questions?
Once again, I
Thank you
appreciate
very
y'all's
much.
time.
Thank you for all your hard work. I want to clarify something here. Chloe Johnson is she a resident or non-resident? She moved to Old Southwest? All right. I want to make sure I have my apology. I will let her talk. And then as soon as we're done with all these, the non-citizens can speak. But I want to make sure that we get through our agenda and then we can listen to the non-citizens. Okay. So I thought I made it clear that she could speak, but I apologize. But I understood. The next, if we can have Matt Hinkle and to talk about the Emergency Communication Center, our system.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Matt Henkel, your Emergency Communication Systems Manager. We'll give you a quick update on where we are. We've made some very good progress, actually. To date, all of the land mobile radio equipment, so the repeaters and computers and whatnot, is on site, is here. Actually, it's in Salem, but it's local anyway. The antennas and lines have been ordered and they will be delivered in May. The microwave equipment also will be here delivered in May. The shelters have all been completed. They will be shipping in. We'll be storing them at Lynchburg Crane. They've been very generous to store them for us at no cost until we're ready to set them at the tower sites. The subscriber radios, this is one of the brand new radios I brought for you to see. They're all in. So we've got all 950 pieces of equipment stored right now. And I've been working with Rich. He's been great to work with, finishing up the radio shop. As soon as we're completed with the radio shop, we'll move all that inventory out from where we've temporarily got it stored now, be able to get it where we can access it and work on a plan. We've already got a plan with fire and EMS to start deploying these radios and use them on the current system. And then they'll already be deployed and we can remotely program them once we do the new system when we go live with that. Currently, that plan is to roll those out in June. So we'll actually be utilizing the investment that we've already paid for. Working with the sheriff's office as well on a schedule. They're a little bit more challenging because of all their vehicles that we have to install all the mobile radios. So there's going to be quite a bit of work that has to be done with that, but we're working with them. Also with the school board, what looks like this summer when everybody's out of school and the buses are at the bus garage, we'll use that to take that opportunity to install all the radios in the buses there. Currently, we've got development applications in for Tinker, Crawford, Big Hill, and Purgatory Towers. They're under review with the community development. Hopefully, we'll have those resolved in the next couple of weeks. And then probably 2 weeks after that, we'll actually start breaking ground and we'll start pouring the concrete and getting the cranes up there, putting the shelters in place. And we're actually going to really start seeing some momentum, getting everything installed and ready to go. The landfill tower, which is going to have to be constructed by the third-party company, DataPath Wireless. We're working with community development. We had a couple of issues with the new text amendment that was approved by the board. So we'd work through those, and I think we've got a resolution. So hopefully we'll be moving forward with that in the next week or two. And in Boxley, who's the final site, is actually in Bedford County, so we'll be dealing with them. The Fincastle Tower, we've actually worked out a deal, at least a handshake deal so far, with T-Mobile and U.S. Cellular. They're going to be decommissioning the U.S. Cellular equipment on that tower. And we've worked out a deal when they vacate their equipment, they're going to leave the shelter. So we'll take ownership of the shelter, which will save us having to put a new shelter in. It's quicker, less money. It looks like we're going to save somewhere around $40,000 to $50,000 by taking over that shelter. But we're still working through all that. We've got all the FCC applications in. That was completed last week. So now they'll go through all the FAA reviews and everything else that they need to do. Their what they call coordination with other license holders to make sure we're not going to have interference. That usually takes about 90 days. Then we'll have the licenses for the frequencies that we've requested. And we're looking at, from a timeline perspective, system optimization. We'll be doing all the construction, putting all the antennas on the towers and all that stuff throughout the summer and early fall. And we'll be doing the optimization sometime in September, maybe early October. We've got pushed out a little bit because of the construction, mostly of the Reed Mountain Tower, which is going to go across the street from the new construction and landfill. But we're hopeful to have the coverage testing done in late October. It's a little later than we wanted to, but we feel that there's still be sufficient foliage on the trees, at least through the month of October, that we should still get a good measurement on how the coverage of the system is going to be. With everything, if everything holds, we're still planning on a cutover for the new system in early 2027. Hopefully we won't run into any issues with the construction on the two tower sites. We hope for good weather and all that good stuff. But yes, around probably February of 2027, we'll do a cutover, and then we'll start decommissioning the old system about 30 or 40 days after that, and then taking all that stuff down. To date, with what you've approved today with the invoices, we've actually paid about $16.3 million of the project. And there's only about $5 million left, which is basically finishing up the project. And we'll probably do a closeout of the project somewhere around, I'd say May or June, about a year, May or June of 2027 is when we'll do the final closeout of the project, and we'll take full ownership of the radio system. Any questions? I know there's a lot of information in a short amount of time, but any questions, I'm entertained answering for you.
I just have a question. I'm just curious about this. So, does every tower have to be built? Does the entire system have to work before any of it can work, or can it be partially implemented at some point?
No, they're all, they're all dependent upon, we actually are going to have two radio systems. Now we're getting a little complicated here, but we're going to have a north system and a south system. And all those towers within that particular system have to be online for us to be able to do the testing. We actually will test those two systems independently to make sure that the coverage is what Motorola says it is. We're going to hold their feet to the fire. But the crux of it is going to be the tower at Reed Mountain, because that is basically the brains of the system. So the north system and the south system all talk back to Reed Mountain, which then connects everything together.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
I was curious, are you able to use any of the existing slabs when you're setting the new buildings?
No, primarily because we have to have those buildings up and running concurrently. Yeah. Yep. Now we are going to try to reuse some of the, like at the Fincastle site, we're going to try to reuse like the generator, that slab. We'll probably bring in a temporary generator, remove the old generator, put the new one on, and try to save some money in that regard. But for the most part, yeah, it's new slabs.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. One other thing. Mr. Lockley, do you have any other information on the Timmons Group update?
Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Mormon just before this, and he, of course, has been bird dogging it pretty hard. As you know, we had given the notice to proceed to Timmons in order to do the hazard assessment as well as the preliminary engineering to determine basically what the options are and what the price tag, possible price tags for those options would be. We're currently applying for 2 grants, one to cover the hazard assessment and one to cover the preliminary engineering work. They were signed by the Phrases yesterday, and Timmons was supposed to file them today. When last I talked to David, he didn't know for sure whether they had. He's online right now on Zoom, and he might be able to tell you the definite answer, but that should be this week. So it's we're moving forward. Lake's been there for 60 years, so another week isn't going to kill anybody, but we are moving forward on figuring out what we're going to do.
Okay.
So I have a question. Are we going to be able to take advantage of other funding, other kind of grant funding that might be available for actual implementation of whatever course of action we want to pursue?
It depends on what course of action you want to pursue is the lawyer answer. The answer is we'll pursue every kind of grant funding there is.
Oh, for each of the options.
For each
So
of
we
the
make the
options.
March 31st deadline for the
Um,
TIFR funding.
We won't know by March 31 of this year. You guys won't be able to actually look at each of the options and see the price tag and see the implications of each of those options, within the next week. Like that's not something that's possible. It would probably have to go into next year's funding cycle, but we just don't want to. It would have to probably go into next year's funding cycle. We just won't be ready. You guys wouldn't be ready to make a decision, and Timmins won't have the information in the next week to do it.
Do we know when they're going to kind of complete their assessment?
7 months is what they were hoping to.
7 months?
Thought it would end up taking about 7 months.
So that brings us to when? I mean, it started a month or so ago.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Oh,
if I may just add a little bit here. So yes, Timmins has completed their work. Their anticipated schedule for completing their work is 7 months, and that really is as of this month. So that would take us, to the fall of this year to receive their report. Once we receive that report, of course, that will be shared publicly. There will be opportunity for input from the community with that. Part of their work is to meet with landowners in the community about their work. It'll also be, of course, shared with you all in the broader county community for comment. And of course, their work will include an examination of the available options, the pros and cons, as Mr. Lockaby said, the costs associated with them. And once the board determines on a direction that it would like to take regarding the dam, then yes, Ms. Rotman, we would look at funding options for that, including grant opportunities. And we would anticipate at least part of those grant opportunities being, additional grants from the Department of Conservation and Recreation for actual construction or remediation activity.
Thank you.
Any other board comments on any other issues?
I have one update I'd like to share. The Virginia 250 Committee and the Botetourt Preservation Partnership kicked off the Spirit Trail series with a nice dinner at the preserve several weeks ago. It was a beautiful event. And I look forward to the remaining events as they unfold here in Botetourt County. So we are celebrating our 250th anniversary. We've got a series of events here in Botetourt County to celebrate that. And I think we should support that and be involved in that part of this process. So I wanted to make sure that we're aware that those events are unfolding. And I'd also like to congratulate the Lord Botetourt Indoor Track Team on their recent state championship.
Very
So
good.
there's good news in places. Thank you.
Yes. Any other board members?
Just a quick update on the law office and hotel committee. We met with Hill Studios last month. Went really, really well. We basically are going to go back with pretty much the original design. They had a couple different designs. One of them was 2 buildings separated instead of one, which would have probably caused a little bit of issue with the courthouse new courthouse and all that. So we got it down to 1 building and a position for it. Mr. Evans was there and agreed to it. So I think we meet again April 6th, and we'll go from there and hopefully have something pretty solid to go on.
Very good. Very good. If I can, for these non-residents, we'll listen to them if they're still here. Michael Burgon? He left? Okay. And Ben Vanshire? For sure.
Hello? Hi there. Ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Supervisors, it's very ironic to me that today's presentation included a celebration of the Google Data Center project as an example of investment in the Roanoke region. The data center is going to be used primarily for artificial intelligence, which is already beginning to hollow out industries across the economy, across the country. Journalists are being laid off so that an AI can spit out slop articles. Security staff that worked parking garages are being replaced with AI-powered surveillance systems. Writers and producers of educational content are having their work offloaded to AIs generating slop lesson and testing materials. Programmers themselves are looking at the possibility of being replaced by agentic AI that can code entire features and apps. The goal of this push is to replace workers altogether with AI. So when you say that Google is investing in the region, what are you referring to? Is it the people, the workers and business owners? Or is it something more nebulous, a series of bots and algorithms talking to each other, doing business exchanges, but not doing anything for the people who actually live in the region? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our meeting. To have a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.